So my best pick for this one, and it's a little bit of a long one, so just stay here and bear it in mind, but I think it is worth it, and it looks very, very enticing. So we've got France to win at over 2.5 total goals for the game, and Kylian Mbappe to be an anytime goal scorer at odds of plus 425. I really, really like that pick, and I definitely think it can come off. So to wrap it up, we've got Morocco overall winner, or Morocco to advance to the semi-finals at odds of plus 235. And then we've got France to win and over 2.5 goals in the total match, and Kylian Mbappe to be anytime goal scorer at odds of plus 425. Guys, as always, make sure you subscribe to the Odd Shoppers channel, because we post daily predictions, daily previews, and daily No House Advantage videos. Also, make sure you go click the link in our description, download No House Advantage, start betting. And as always, I'm your host, Jordan Burrs, and you can find me on YouTube at Jordan Burrs, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
That whole commute you were describing, though, that's the entire thesis of I will take less money to work at home.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I am down to, I have to leave my house for one thing, and that one thing.
Oh, that's TV. Good.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like I can't complain. It's really down to one thing.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like one duty, one thing a week or whatever, that's fine. I could even handle that.
It's a combo of that, though. Like they kind of had me by the balls in that they gave me this monthly thing to be like on call. So it's like, hey, we need you to do 5:45 and 7:15, and then come back at 10:30 in the morning to record something for Sunday. And it's like, I can't say that, right? Yeah. And if I say no, even though I'm on the retainer, they'll find somebody else that's the same price. No. So you're kind of right. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
It's crazy. Hey, welcome. It is a Friday, a football Friday across the National Football League. And I don't know. I don't know about Geoff. I don't know about Mike, who's producing. I don't know about you out there who's already here, hitting the thumbs up, subscribing. We'll tell you all about what's going on with the deposit match at No House Advantage. But I can't take 12 more games of what we saw last night, even though offense was kind of lost for the majority of that game, Geoff. The drama, like, I don't know if my heart can take the drama 12 times over now moving forward into this week.
No, fair enough. No, it's weird games. Like, I mean, boring as shit, but like also interesting as shit, because like, you have Baker Mayfield comebacks, Brady with the comebacks. So I don't know. I mean, my philosophy is this is like the third week in a row. I just bet the under in these games now, and they cash, and it's like sweat-free money, and I enjoy it more because I'm on the under. So I'm just going to continue doing that. I've really enjoyed the last couple primetime games for that reason alone. So yeah,
I think you're honest.
More boring shitty games. Let's go.
Yeah, you're right. Look, I heard I was listening to Sirius this morning on one of my 4 commutes. I was telling you about it. Charlie Weiss, he's all over Sirius, the NFL channel. He's like, I was just about, it's big Charlie Weiss.
Right. Yeah.
I was just about to turn the game off. Like, you've got former coaches and players who are like, I can't take this shit. So yeah, you're not alone, Geoff, in turning that thing off. All right. Now we have an interesting slate in front of us here to work with at No House Advantage on the weekend, of course. And as always, we kind of look at our projections as a whole. I'm just curious, without even looking at maybe one or two individually, is there something maybe that you took overall, or is there maybe a game that you think would serve us best to kind of focus on, knowing that you may have a lean on a side or a total more so than not?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with why don't we start with the Browns and the Bengals? I mean, I think that's a good one to start with. I mean, again, I don't have every single prop up here for this game, but I can tell you where I'm kind of leaning towards. Yep. I think that the Bengals are going to win this game, but I think it's going to be more of a defensive thing, more of a running back focused kind of effort. And I think that it's a good spot to actually take the under on Joe Burrow. I assume, his prop on No House is probably juiced up. Again, I don't have the exact number in front of me.
It for you right now. The app is updating as we speak. So I had it open, then it told me I had to update it. So,
and that's fine. We can just talk about the game in general. I mean, I think that there's an opportunity here to take some unders on Burrow, maybe even take an under on like one of his receivers, but more on Burrow, and take the over on either the Bengals running back or even the over on Deshaun Watson, who a lot of this is going to be number dependent, but I think Watson is going to be in a spot where he's going to be throwing more than Burrow. And I think that'll just lead to overs. I don't think the Browns are going to win the game, but I do think that, Watson will be in a spot where he's got to play catch up. And Burrow and the defense is going to be in a spot where they're kind of just sucking the life out of the game and probably up a score or two. So that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. Our projections are fairly strong on both these guys, to be honest, but I really feel like the game flow is going to work more for Watson to go over than Burrow. So again, we got a lot to choose from here. I'm just, starting off with those two guys. And I will say this, like, I do like, some of the potential for upside from the guys like Amari Cooper this week too. I mean, I just think that the volume is going to be there. I think that Cleveland's going to have to be passing late in that game. So.
All right. So 2 things that jump out with the quarterbacks here. Watson's passing yards are pretty low. And granted, we saw last week the guy hadn't played in over 700 days. So it's going to have run. I don't think it's going to automatically disappear. But, Geoff, 228.5 is still a decently low number going up against Cincinnati. The other thing to look at is, and look, the 283.5, you can do what you like with that. You mentioned that's with Burrow. So that, I don't know if that's too high, if you still like that, going under, right? Under?
I think anything over 280, I think is a good fade. And I think that's a good one for this contest on No House too, because everyone knows Burrow's playing well and he is playing well. He's playing great. I'm happy. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorite players, but I just don't think this is the right situation. Even our projections on Stokastic, like, we're bullish, but it's not that bullish. I mean, like, I think there's a reason why he's under 280 for our projections. And I think part of it is the fact that, like, the running backs here are in a really good spot for Cincinnati too. And Joe Mixon is back. So I think it's a good spot to fade Burrow. I think you get low ownership on that prop, but I feel pretty good about that one, to be honest. I think there's a lot of game flow, a lot of game situations where the dropbacks just aren't there, where, Mixon is going, their defense is taking over, and he just doesn't get there. So.
Last one on this one, though, I mentioned, or you did actually, so I don't want to take credit for something because you just said this, but the game flow being more heavy on the running backs, and also just, looking at this game overall from Burrow's standpoint. The other one that I think I'd be interested in, because I do believe people will gravitate towards the over simply because the return of Jamar Chase going up against Cleveland in general, is the 2.5 passing touchdowns. I think you can go under that. And I think, Joe Burrow can comfortably get 275, 2 touchdowns. The game still goes under. The Browns can still cover. Like that's what I mean. I don't think it's going to be that tight of a sweat for both of those props, but you're right. Like the passing yardage, I think will be the popular one. Maybe a less popular, but still one that's not contrarian would be under 2.5 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You could go big on this play. I mean, you can go with a couple, Joe Burrow unders. And I think again, it's going to give you like a really low lineup, and then you could game stack here by coming back with a Watson over or something like that. So again, like just like being not bullish on the overs for Joe Burrow doesn't mean that you think you have to be against Cincinnati in this game. I think there's multiple reasons why Joe Burrow doesn't get there, which I think just makes him a good under candidate. So yeah, and actually just while we're on the passing touchdown props too, I mean, this is shifting to a completely another game,
Go
but
ahead, please.
I'm just looking at some of the stronger projected ones here in our optimal lineups on Stokastic. And,
oh yeah.
This is one I really like, and it's Mike White under 1.5
Read
passing
my mind,
touchdowns.
brother. You read my mind.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Good.
I love it.
Because I know another guy I'm fully in on the unders for this week is Mike White. It's got nothing against him, but you look at what happened against Minnesota. He threw the ball a ton and he got like 360 yards, but he threw for like 5.9 yards per attempt. He threw 2 interceptions, and it was really just all late game stuff where the Jets were down. This game's going to be played in this like a snowstorm from the last forecast I looked. You've got Tre'Davious White back there, Jordan Poyer, both healthy. Those guys are just dynamic. They're not going to allow much here. Mike White is not throwing for 2 passing touchdowns this week. No. I would be pretty surprised if that happens. I
think you can go across the board here at this point and just basically fade everything. Remember last year when Mike White caught everybody by fire and then they lose a game on the road and then they took on Buffalo and it was like, all right, man, all this Mike White stuff's over. Like Buffalo just drove him into the ground. And I don't know what's changed on offense for the Jets. Like, they're not necessarily smarter. They don't have better coaching than last year. They don't have better play than last year. Hell, one of the guys is banged up and out as far as in the backfield is concerned. So, yeah, I'm with you. And this is something like we can look at the Houston-Dallas game as well in a minute because that has a similar vibe to it where it's got blowout feel regardless of that spread. But, yeah, I think Mike White becomes interesting, Geoff, as you laid out, not only with the passing – you went – passing touchdowns, 1.5 under, right?
Yeah.
But, 234.5 passing yards in that weather against that defense who's going to put as much pressure on him as possible. Interceptions are tricky at 1.5, but I think you're right. Like the passing touchdowns is the automatics 10-point smash. And if you're looking at maybe, multiple lineups here, a 10, a 9, even maybe an 8-point, I think you can easily slide in under 234.5 for passing yards.
Yeah. And I don't think that'll be a popular play either. Like the underpassing touchdowns will probably be fairly heavy owned, but like doubling down, Mike White, like his prop around the industry is around 247, which I absolutely love as an under. But I think people also see that total and be like, oh, well, he'll probably throw for 250. No, there's no guarantee that happens. Let's not forget that like Mac Jones was coming off a heater and look what happened to him, last week against Buffalo. So no, I don't think there's any guarantee that Mike White, even gets much over 200 yards in this game. So I still think that's a strong underplay. And I think that passing yardage on White will be definitely the lesser owned of the two. So.
All right, my friend, anything else in that game? Because I don't know. I think you can probably do the same thing. It's a little tighter. All right. Sorry, but Davis Mills passing touchdowns is the same number
right
as the other guy we just talked about. And we just hit him here. I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence, Mike White. So is that not a similar play for you here? Like I can't look, maybe this guy and Davis Mills finds a way to get over the 202.5. I think it is passing yards. Yeah. Somebody breaks when somebody gets lucky, but 2 passing touchdowns, even in garbage time, seems like it's a lot here.
Yeah, no, and just good to go back to that Buffalo game quickly.
Sure.
The only thing I was going to say is, and I don't have like Singletary or James Cook props up, but if you wanted to play
Singletary's 47.5.
Okay, and if you wanted to play that game heavy, you could take the over on one or both of the running backs. I think Buffalo's going to run the ball a lot, and you could pair that with like I said, some unders on the other side. You even go like Diggs under, which we're having projected as strong at 7.5 receptions. again. So I think like that game, I think that's a good one to stack. I think playing for the Buffalo win there is, and again, I don't know how popular it'll be, but back to your point about Davis Mills, I like it. I don't like it as much as the Mike White prop for a couple reasons. It's going to be indoors.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Dallas could be up so much in this game. The Davis Mills could have like a quarter and a half of playing against prevent defenses. And one thing we have seen from Dallas, it happened at the end of that New York game that I know we talked about that killed me and helped you.
Oh my God. It was
is Dallas will get a little complacent. No,
yeah, you're right though. You're right.
And maybe that one's just burned in my mind here.
No, I think you're onto something. I think that there's letdown in there.
There is. And it's not that I think this is a bad under or something, but I do think it'll be a highly owned under. So if I'm picking between White and Mills, I'm definitely going the White under. And I don't even think that you need to necessarily get on this. This is a Sunday slate. We got tons of props to be contrarian on. I don't think you necessarily need to be contrarian on Davis Mills under 1.5, but it will be heavily owned. So, again, I would probably just leave that one out if I was going to fade one of those touchdown props and take the under on White.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much blowout potential here where you can almost build this game two different ways, right? You can build it if you're going through multiple lineups. And Geoff mentioned our optimal lineups page. We have that. We have our free projections. We'll match your first deposit at No House Advantage. All you need is our code Stokastic. It's the name of the site, right? Up to $50. So we're going to get you on your way with more than just a couple of pieces of information or a play or two. We're going to fully get you ready here to win some money on NHA. I think there are two ways you can attack this. And if I'm building multiple lineups, I'm probably setting that fork in the middle of the road where Dallas beats Houston 44-7. How does that happen? And then you can build accordingly, overs a lot just to get to that point. Or it's just hard to beat a team when you're favored by 18 points. And it's probably going to be, if it's close, it's going to be an ugly slop fest of a shit game. So, and then maybe Dallas does pull away like we've seen, right? So maybe there are some underplays here that allow you to go like, under Zeke or under Gallup at 51.5, or maybe even under Lamb at 89.5. Again, I'm not saying that's the first play, Geoff. I'm saying if you are building this game, I think you could do it. Dallas and Houston wrapped in a tight, low scoring game, or Dallas just blows the shit out of Houston.
Yeah. And there's, like we have, there's a lot of props to choose from this game, which kind of makes it nice for stacking as well. Like we just talked about Davis Mills, but Chris Moore on the other side. There's nobody in the receiving core for Houston right now. Chris Moore has a 29.5 receiving prop. That's a strong over and that should be one you're mixing in. I think regardless of whether you're stacking this game or not. But that's one like I feel very good about from this game. But, we got Dak projected for under 2.5 passing touchdowns, very similar spot to Joe Burrow. How much is he even going to be throwing in this game? You got two running backs. Dallas happy to hand the ball off inside the red zone. And then you got like Michael Gallup at 4.5 receptions. If Dak's not throwing much, how many targets is he going to get? CeeDee Lamb is still like, one of the leaders in team target share as well. So, but his props are juiced up. So yeah, there is multiple ways you could get really aggressive here and take unders on Dallas. You could take an over on Chris Moore. And it's not like you're playing for a Dallas loss. You're just playing for, like you said, maybe it's 25-13 instead of like 40-7, and Dallas just, a couple touchdowns from the running backs, not much happening in the pass game. And, maybe their defense scores or something, and that's it. And everybody kind of goes under except like these low Texans props, like a Chris Moore. So lots of different ways to play it. Good game to stack. Lots of different possibilities. They got Dalton Schultz props.
Yeah.
Like all these guys can't go over for Dallas.
You're right.
There's not going to be enough passes.
No, and
I can't see it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Like at some point, it's you're trying to create barriers, and it's tough to do that because you're limiting the scope here. But you're right. Like ultimately, if you nailed a 10-point play of which of these guys doesn't eat, right? Because Dallas is up by 30 points, yet somebody was just not involved, then I think you're going to kill, because the general consensus here is probably going to be load up on overs for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. And I think you could take like multiple unders there. Obviously we got, you Pollard and Zeke aren't players I'd want to fade. But you could mix it in with a Pollard over. You could certainly do that, and I think there's just a good chance that if you do end up doing that, or just leaving the running backs out and just taking the unders on the receivers, you're probably going to hit multiple unders there. So really good game to talk about, good game to think about mixing into your lineup pool. And it wouldn't shock me if, one of the winners came out with like some heavy usage from this game.
All right, brother. Where else as far as game or like what's going Trevor Lawrence? I'm surprised this man is upright and playing in this football game.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Titans have lost 2 straight. This is as aggressive and desperate as they are going to be. I would think that so long as he's playing, fading Trevor Lawrence might be it. And again, we've got 252.5, 1.5 TDs and the half interception.
Yeah. And, at the start of the week before we got this injury news, I kind of like Jacksonville in this game, but you're right. This is, I don't know, man. I don't know. And the thing is, like, I don't know enough about Trevor Lawrence to like really trust him in this situation.
Yep.
Like it's kind of just his first good year. He's kind of been up and down. And now we're being asked to trust him, in an obvious injury situation. Like, I don't know if you need to do that. So I'm kind of with you. I've taken the reverse stance on this game where I think you're just going to get an ugly game. That's, the Tennessee tries to bounce back. They probably move the ball a little bit early, and Jacksonville probably just has some problems. Tennessee secondary is a concern, but their D line can also control games, and they've done it in the past. Now you got a limited Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, I like playing for some unders in that game as well. Maybe you look at like the Derrick Henry prop on the other side to go over on, but
87.5.
I don't even know if you need to do that. Just take a couple Jacksonville unders,
Well, Eytan is look, it's not a high number, but with this and the matchup, I think this could be justified from like an 8 to a maybe 5-point range of going under 59.5 rushing yards.
He's been banged up too. Like his usage is kind of, dried up a little bit. Like he had that nice run, but these guys get banged up late in the year. Takes them a couple games to recover. The coach starts mixing in other running backs, and look, Tennessee's just really good run defense too. Like that's what they do. They force teams to pass against them, and the teams that can hold up their defensive line and block. Yeah, they absolutely shred Tennessee, just like Joe Burrow did. But this isn't Joe Burrow we're talking about. It's Trevor Lawrence. It's the Jags O-line, and I see problems here too. I don't like the situation for Lawrence. Against a good D line and now banged up. So I think that'll affect Eytan too. I think multiple unders here is also the play.
All right, let's bounce around another game or two. Minnesota, Detroit. I think there's some interest there. I was looking to see where any Eagles would pop up because of what they've just been able to do, exploding on offense on multiple areas. It actually makes a little sense to me, but the under AJ Brown 5.5 receptions is actually popping up a little bit. Look, they don't have Dallas Goedert, but Devontae Smith had the quietest 100+ yard receiving game I think you'll ever see last week. Clearly, the New York Giants are well aware of AJ Brown. Wink Martindale is no slouch. That dude knows his shit. So I think there's going to be a concerted effort to just take AJ Brown out of this foot. I'm not saying it's going to work, but look, there's also the argument that they may not need to go to AJ Brown 6 or 7 times if they're up, etc. But I'm not surprised for a team that has a lot of offense and a lot of firepower. I'm not surprised that this specific prop is actually popping up a lot, and the higher plays, at least for the first Eagles play I see in the optimals.
I actually just bet AJ Brown under 5.5 receptions, and I took a lot of juice to do it, but I like it as a play a lot. What is AJ Brown in this offense? He's not like Cooper Kupp. It's not like he's getting 16 targets a game. He's the big play outside wide receiver. And he's going to get his shots, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to come down with 6 or more receptions. He's had plenty of games where he's had 4, 3. The Eagles just haven't had to use him. Devonta Smith has been open, and Smith gets like 7 catches and Brown gets like 3. No reason why that can't happen here. And I actually expect it to. I think, again, if you want to get aggressive here too, you could just use the AJ Brown under, but you could also mix it in with the Miles Sanders over. I think that, you look at what teams do against the Giants. They run the ball because the Giants' rush defense sucks. Running backs typically, I think the last 5 games against the Giants, at least one running back has had 17 rushes against them. Sanders is going to get the ball here, like no question. I think the Eagles know that. They're a great rush offense, and maybe I mean some of it will probably come from Hurts too, but it's just going to hurt AJ Brown. That's a big number to get to 6. Yeah, no, I think you mix in AJ Brown unders, and if you want to stack it, you could think about coming back with like a Miles Sanders over too.
When you said you paid a lot of juice to do it, I didn't realize you paid that much juice to do it. But you know what? It's going to be hard to say no, my friend. By all means. All right. What else you got here that maybe if there's a game or a play that you had your heart on, right? This is heart on about, I should say. Final couple of minutes. We always throw it to you as far as 1 or 2 things that strong, maybe against what we have. It's up to you, brother.
So I think that a couple players I'm looking at having just good days. Let's just say that. I think Mark Andrews against Pittsburgh. With Tyler Huntley, 4 games last year, Tyler Huntley started. Andrews had 10 targets or more. So I think that's a fine spot, looking for Mark Andrews props. And then on the other side, like George Pickens, who we just had up there for a sec, I think coming back with him to play for, again, he's been talking about in the media. He's kind of got the blessing of Mike Tomlin. I think he'll get more downfield targets. It's a really good matchup. He's going up against 2 corners who are 6 feet tall. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage. And, we're kind of waiting for more targets for George Pickens. I don't blame him. Like, it's their best receiver downfield. Like, give this guy 8 or 9 targets. See what happens. I think Pittsburgh does that this week. They're not going to be able to run on Baltimore anyways. So George Pickens is another player. Like, I'm projecting for a big game. I like Andrews on the other side of that as well. And then, I do this to myself every time. I have guys in front of me, and then I start talking about someone else. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, yeah, those are the 2 guys from that game that I wanted to talk about. But
was there another guy in that specific game, or somebody else outside of that?
I don't know. I may have been thinking about Tyler Huntley, but I don't think we're really getting, like, I don't want to take Tyler Huntley touchdown props. That's too thin. You're asking too much. He's running inside the red zone. So no, I think
under 1.5 passing touchdowns.
That I would be more comfortable with.
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah, we should have. I should talk about it the reverse. Absolutely, and that's projecting is just a strong play. So, again, like the Pickens and Andrews, we don't really have up as like strong projections, but it's just more of a how I think that game is going to go. You got strength versus weakness there in the secondaries, but Huntley, like the thing about Baltimore is they use Huntley just like they use Lamar Jackson. They run him in the red zone. They run him all the time. And specifically in the red zone. And I just don't know if the pass attempts will be there for him. So Huntley at under 1.5. Yeah, that's another quarterback prop that we can take the under on.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. Just looking around to see if there was anything else on my end here. Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland. No, I mean, I think we hit everything there. Cousins. We
didn't talk about that Detroit game much. Yeah. I mean, a lot of points. DJ Chark might be someone again. You could throw in an over on if you want to stack that game. Could be lower owned. He's playing a lot. I don't know what we have up for DeAndre Swift props, if anything. He looked healthier last week. I definitely prefer
41.5 rushing yards. That actually doesn't seem that bad.
It's not. His rushing usage is a little concerning, but you got to think they're going to start giving him more work. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't. So,
well, that's the thing, right? As far as like the volume is concerned, that's going to be the big deterrent for you.
Yeah. For Swift, I mean, I just don't know what this team thinks of him. If they want to get him back in a full-time role, if they just want to keep giving Jamal Williams the ball and giving Swift 12 touches, I would be more comfortable going over on the receivers for Detroit in this game, even like eating a big number on Amon-Ra St. Brown and going over than probably chancing with Swift.
Awesome. Look, if we have any Baker Mayfield type performances like we saw last night, then maybe it's probably going to be Goff or somebody like that. So you never know. Awesome. Awesome as always. All right. We appreciate you rolling with us. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe here to this Stokastic channel. We have a bunch of other channels that we want you to be a part of. And then look, take advantage of this. If you're brand new to NHA, Geoff just ran down a bunch of opportunities, bunch of scoring opportunities. There's a ton of overlay here on NHA. You can take advantage of that. And we want to get you on the right foot. We'll match your first deposit up to $50. Just use the code Stokastic. That's Mike producing. That's Geoff. I'm Eytan. Geoff, It's always a pleasure, brother. Enjoy your weekend. Stay warm
Yeah,
up
man.
there, will you?
Yeah, no, I will. I mean, you have yourselves a good weekend too. See you guys.